Right after you got off the phone. Action! What's up? What's up? John Melton coming to you live with MyLifestyleAcademy.com. And today we have a very special interview with a good friend of mine. We're going to talk about podcasting. How many of you are struggling with video? Maybe you don't like video. Maybe you have a face for radio. I'm just kidding. Sorry. I heard that joke one time and I thought it was hilarious. But some of us maybe don't like doing videos, or maybe we like doing videos, but we want to do something in addition to that. And I tell you, podcasting is a phenomenal platform. In fact, Nadya and I just recently launched our podcast after years of back and forth conversation about it. We actually had a podcast years ago, but we never fully launched it. I think we started it and we were like, not ready, not yet. And some of you might be in that same situation where the timing isn't perfect. But for some of you, maybe you're like, you know what? This is exactly what I need to do. I need to start a podcast. I need to do something different. I want to get off social media. I love social media, but I'd like to have either a YouTube channel or a podcast that I'm starting. And the beauty is you could kind of do it at the same time. There's some neat things that you can do starting a podcast and or a YouTube channel simultaneously. You know, in fact, if you're watching us right now, while we're having this conversation, we're using a software called StreamYard, where we're live on Facebook, on our Facebook page, my Facebook profile, our Facebook group, YouTube, and Twitter simultaneously. And then here's what we do. We take the audio and we use it for our podcast. So you could actually do the same amount of work, but take your content and simply repurpose it. So this is a really great strategy. And Ian is an absolute beast. He's one of my favorite people. He's always so positive and outgoing, and he's probably one of the friendliest people you'll ever meet. And, you know, it's funny because Ian and I met in a network marketing company. We were on totally different teams, but we immediately hit it off. And I just saw that he was a young, driven, motivated individual like I used to be. I used to be young. Still driven and motivated. I'll be 40 very soon. In fact, some of you might be listening to this after I've already turned 40. I can't believe this. This is crazy. Anyway, it's a sad time to not be in my 30s anymore, but just kidding. On a serious note, I just really love Ian. Such a great leader. He actually started off in network marketing. So like many of you, started off in his entrepreneurial journey, you know, getting started in a network marketing company. He actually had a lot of success at a very young age, built a massive business. And then the company we were both in got shut down, unfortunately. So when that company was shut down, I was like, hey, man, we got to go check out this new company. And actually, believe it or not, Ian was the very first human I enrolled in the company we're in together today. He just had his biggest month ever. But I'm telling you, he's been able to build his brand. He's got thousands and thousands of downloads every month for his podcast. And he hasn't even had his podcast for all that long, but he's taken it very seriously and he's absolutely crushing it. So Ian, it's a damn good day to have a damn good day. We're excited to have you on our channel, on our show. Make sure you all smash that heart button if you know Ian and you love his content. Tag some teammates, anybody you know that's wanting to make money online. They're wanting to build a brand. They're wanting to generate leads. This is a phenomenal strategy. So Ian, maybe you could start off sharing with everybody a little bit about your story, your background, and why did you decide to start a podcast?
Good question.
First of all, y'all got me floating with that introduction. I'm over here just like, woo! Oh my gosh. Like I'm moving 1,000 miles per hour. I got to say the Meltons are the godfathers of my entrepreneurship career. I owe so much to you guys. You guys have been friends, business partners, just good overall humans. You've motivated me and I appreciate it so much. I mean, Nadya, you're unbelievable. John, your work ethic is insane. Somebody get me what you want because I'm about to take a bunch of it. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for everyone tuning in. I'm seeing these comments. Oh, this is a damn good day. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to break this down. So you mentioned the story. Okay.
Yes.
Story, right? All right. Well, first of all, how many people are into a lot of different things, right? When you get into online marketing, you typically have to pick one thing and then you build onto that niche and then you hammer that niche with content and then you service that niche and then you build 1,000 true fans and then Hakuna Matata life is great. Me personally, I'm into too many things. I didn't know what my one thing is. which is ultimately where I went into podcasting. But to back it up, got into direct sales. That went, south, was an epic experience. Ended up getting into the software SaaS game in a traditional startup. Worked there for 5 years, was the first employee. We scaled it to almost 20 people and growing. And at that time, we went through a startup accelerator, which is basically business school. And there were 21 different people from all over the world represented inside of this startup cohort at 500 startups. And these people were incredible, like absolutely amazing humans. So I started doing Facebook Lives with them, similar to what we're doing right now. And I was just like, well, hey, what's up, man? We got, Abu over here. Abu, how you doing, my man? And then he would rip it and tell how he built his business. And it was fantastic. And then a few months into it, I'm seeing all these influencers. I'm out in Santa Monica. All of them are dropping these podcasts. If you heard of Joe Rogan's podcast, drop a one, just closed $100 million deal with Spotify and owns the IP. Something's happening, people. But I see all these influencers in LA and they're doing this podcast deal. And I was like, there's got to be something there. And the numbers are astounding. The amount of podcasts that are popping up every single day is literally like where Instagram was back years back. So it's a lot of exciting stuff. We started our podcast 2 years ago. Len Jones, Party of Two. We got it on the phone. You got to always throw the plug. And it's just an incredible platform to meet amazing people. And now you can see right here, John Melton, you guys launched the influencer interview with the great branding. Congratulations.
I love it, dude. So it's been 2 years, like just surpassed?
Probably like 2 years and like a month.
Dude, that's so awesome, man. So 25 months now of podcasting. How many podcasts have you done?
So we just recorded our 101st episode, which is pretty exciting.
That's awesome, dude. And starting out, when you first started podcasting, how did you figure it out? Because it's not as simple, obviously, as just going live on Facebook. Right. And I know we're going to have you do a more in-depth training in our community next week. But how did you just hit up the Google? Did you, YouTube? What did you do to start, podcasting?
So I did. I started off terrible. I did everything wrong. If you go back in my podcast history, as we proceed in episodes, the quality increases and it starts really bad. I actually first just took my Instagram, my Facebook Lives, and I just put them as podcasts. Right. And I did that for 5 episodes and it was kind of bootleg. The audio was coming in and out. Then I got all the fancy gear, right? And then I started editing my podcast hardcore. And no one likes the sound of their own voice. Let me just tell you that right now. That's why you get one of these things. If you get a simple podcast mic, it turns you into a Morgan Freeman-esque right away. It's just, woo, you sound so much better. But basically, I just started hitting up people that were really interesting to me. So the way I thought about it is I used podcasting as a leverage to force myself to reach out to incredible people. I thought nothing bad is going to come out of that. What's a conversation going to do? And what I did was I reached out to these people, said, hey, can I please pick your brain for an hour and share your insights with my audience? I now had something of value that I could leverage to now be able to get into the DMs of these incredible humans, ranging from raising and rehabilitating cheetahs in South Africa, sailing sailboats across the world, building multiple million-dollar businesses, or people like yourselves, using that platform as a way to just get an in and learn from people. That's the biggest way right there.
And then when you're interviewing people, you're typically getting together with them in person a lot of times, right?
I try to. When you're in person, it's so much better. My sole intention for podcasting isn't about the clout, the views, and the likes. And we always teach our students not to focus on vanity metrics because you will be sad, right? I think you guys teach that. If you look at the live viewers, you'll just be like, man, right? You got to focus on being consistent. So just a step back, the best platform is always the one that you're consistent on. If that's not podcasting, then don't do podcasting. If it's Facebook Live, do Facebook Live. But yeah, my intention is to meet them, and being in person, you build that intimate connection, that relationship, and good things come from it. And it's just a way better conversation because you can just pick up on the facial cues and you're like, what up? What up?
And then, have you thought about doing those live?
Yes.
Or recording that? Or do you record them as video or do you just do it as an audio?
I do video and audio. So what I like about podcasting is it's the most repurposable content on the market in the industry, right? So you might not love doing podcasts, or you might not have a massive audience, but what happens is a podcast is simply a recorded conversation. Drop a 2 in the comments if right now you are on planet Earth having conversations every single day. All a podcast is clicking record on that conversation. It's that simple. It can be as that simple as you want, or it can be as that complicated as you want.
Right.
But if you can take that conversation, put it into a streamable format, and then put a theme around it, boom, podcast. And then you can take clips from that. If you look at Joe Rogan, he's the godfather right now of the podcasting world. He'll do an 1.5-hour interview. He'll clip multiple pieces of that podcast, or people, if fans will do it. And then all of a sudden it'll be like little tiny clips, like how the first person flies, or whatever it is, or the best ways to use a squatty potty. I think that was something that he used recently. And all these little clips become different YouTube videos. And now you're getting like 10, 20 pieces of content. I think about it as lottery tickets. If you put out one piece of content, that's one lottery ticket. It is one small chance that it goes viral. If it goes viral, then like your life changes, new leads, new customers. But if you can break it up to 10 to 15 pieces of content, all of a sudden you're just cashing in lottery tickets.
How many do you do per week now?
I aim for 2. I'm not always successful because I do multiple things inside of my life. We run a podcast business called Network Podcasting. I work for a data company and we do some other stuff. But I aim for 2 a week, but it requires a team if you're going to start getting past that 1 a week period, 100%.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Who's the one guy? Life on Fire or something like that?
Oh, Entrepreneur on Fire.
Entrepreneur on Fire.
Loomis.
Yeah, John D. Dumas. John Lee Dumas. Yeah, yes. He. I think the way, because I heard him actually tell a story one time at an event or on a webinar or something, and he was talking about how he committed to doing a podcast every day, but he would essentially batch them. So he would interview like 5 people in one day or 7 people in one day, and then just drop those throughout the week. And then so he'd have one insane day a month, or one insane day a week, 4 times a month. And then he would take those conversations and spread them out. And that's how he built his following. But again, there's so many directions you can go in. Like you said, you got to choose the platform that you're going to focus on, whether it's Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook. But I think for some of us, we have focused on one platform or another. So this is a great add-on, if you will. And I like the goal of maybe doing just 1 interview a week. And by the way, it doesn't have to be an interview. It could just be you talking. You could literally have an idea, have a thought about something, do a live video, but then have a secondary phone or device recording that conversation. There's so many different ways you could do this. I know some of you got on late, but we're repurposing this interview right now. Right? We've got our microphone right here recording this as audio. Meanwhile, we're simultaneously broadcasting on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So you could do that exact same thing. You're simply repurposing conversations and content you're already creating. So Ian, if somebody wanted to start a podcast, what would you say are some of the other benefits of starting a podcast versus just using social media, that because you've now done a lot on all of them. So you have a really good grasp on this after 2 years of podcasting. What would you say are some of the other benefits? Do you feel like it's easier to get interviews because of your podcast? Do you feel like you've made a lot more connections? Do you feel like there's benefits that are way more beneficial than just having your content on social media? Maybe you could talk about some of that as well. Sell them on why they need a podcast.
Excellent question. Y'all got a podcast right now. I mean, it's pretty cool because, for example, I think the biggest thing that happens here is the leverage component. Yeah. Right now, most people don't have something that they can leverage. When you start your own company, all of a sudden you have an entity. And now using and leveraging your company, you can now network with bigger companies and people that have bigger followings and people that have bigger stuff. If you right now don't have a company where you can offer value to people, you need to create something that you can offer value. That's step 1. If you don't have something you can offer value, you're never going to be able to get the foot in the door. So the step 2 is building the podcast creates a platform where you can now have this audience where you can then feed, and this isn't to sound bad, but almost like the human ego. The human ego loves to talk about themselves. They love to share. Successful people love to talk about themselves. They love to share. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because a lot of people want to tell their story. So what happens is you can build your influence and gain authority. So say right now you don't have a lot of authority. When you post something on Facebook, people aren't liking it. When you post things on Instagram, people aren't following it. You don't have authority. So it's almost like in NASCAR or biking, where you see the one car trailing the other car, and then they do the Ricky Bobby, and then they do the slingshot, and they go and they rip by it. They use the leverage from the actual first car, the air. It's the same concept. So you're able to kind of slingshot doing a team effort off of other people's authority. Now, you might say, well, that sounds really one-sided. No, because now you have an audience. So the way I would say, number one, is if you don't have a lot of authority, podcasting will help you gain authority, because you'll be able to network and leverage people much higher in the game than you are. Step two, you're going to build influence. What happens when people see you talking to someone like John Melton? They're like, all right, this man, Ian Lenhart, must be up to something, man. Like, they associate you with the people you hang out with. So if you can get some badasses on an interview, right? Try not to pay them, though. That's not the play, right? It should be a mutual thing.
Do some of them do that?
Some people say, oh yeah. I don't play that game, though. It's like, this is a pleasure train. All right, not a force.
What have, so some of the people you've tried to interview, what do they say? Well, like, I charge X. What's been like the highest price that someone could, you don't have to say the person, but just what was
oh yeah, I mean, I've had someone be like, yeah, I mean, an hour of my time would be like $2,000 to $3,000, and I'm just like, here's the thing. In their defense, respect to them, okay? Sure. Because if their time is worth $2,000 to $3,000, and that all that says is that they don't see value in your podcast, right? You're buying value.
That's a good point.
Right? That's all that's telling you. So, I mean, I almost have like, this is something really cool. I saw someone that I was going to have a podcast. They said the only way we'll have my client go on your podcast, because a lot of these bigger influencers and marketers, they actually have PR firms and teams that vet all these opportunities, because their DMs are flooding like minnows trying to get into there, right? So these people are vetting them. So they'll say, like, for example, if they just launched a book, I thought this was fascinating. They said, yes, X client will be on your podcast, but you need to buy 10 copies of the book and give them away as giveaways on the podcast.
Makes sense.
And I did that with Amy Landino recently, because I just love that person. She's amazing. So we did like a joint effort with our Damn Good Day brands, and we did some stuff like that. But it is interesting, the marketing aspect of getting things out there. Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I remember when I think it was Gary Vee or Brendan Bouchard, one of them were launching a book, and dude, they would have been on anybody's podcast. They would have jumped on any podcast, any interview, because they just wanted to get the word out there about their new book. So they were doing a lot more content and interviews than they typically would to get in front of different audiences. So yeah, it's super smart. And the neat thing too is once you have a team, you learn to outsource, right? You can take your content and give it to your team, and they do the work. They edit. Now, of course, you're not going to necessarily have that in place in the beginning, but eventually you could actually use the content you're creating to repurpose it, but without you having to do the work. So you guys can do a live video, take the audio, and then give it to your team. They edit it up. They, put it up on the podcast. They create the copy. All of that can be done and outsourced. In the beginning, you're probably going to do it, but at some point, you can have your team do it. And that's really powerful, because if you look at anybody that's out there crushing it, right? They're content creators, they've got a podcast, they're an influencer, they're leveraging social. They all have a team. None of them are doing all the things. And in the beginning, you might do it because you want to understand it. Because when you hire people, and this is why I think Nadya does such a good job hiring people, she knows exactly what she wants, because she's done it. So she has an eye for what's right and what's wrong. But eventually you can teach that to other people, right? You can go out there and show them how to do exactly what you want to have done. So I think that's super, super powerful. Now, when did you start hiring help and bringing on a team, Ian?
Oh man, this is such an important topic. This is like a key here. I hired a team around 35 episodes. On my 35th episode, I've had enough. I was done. You are your own worst enemy. So when
Right.
I first got started podcasting, if I dropped an and first of all, everyone on the comments, what up, Alex? I see you guys are asking some really good questions. If John asks them, I'll answer them. Otherwise, we'll figure another way. But when you first start podcasting, you become your own worst enemy. You'll say things like, like, and you'll have these weird silences or you'll do something. And then you'll go in there on Adobe Premiere, Audacity, GarageBand, whatever you're using, and you'll edit the crap out of it. Like chopping an onion. You're just chopping that onion on every aspect of it. And you hate it, right?
Right.
Truth is, Bob Heilig told me this, and it never really hit me until episode 35. B- work changes lives. First of all, it doesn't need to be perfect. Authenticity is everything. So I started outsourcing my podcast once it became ridiculous. I was editing for 2 to 3 hours every day for one podcast. It just didn't make sense. Once we outsourced it to, we have an entire team now, somebody that I take my file, I put it into a Google Drive. Somebody takes that, edits it into an IGTV, a YouTube video, a promo image, a blog post, puts it onto a podcasting platform, an RSS feed. We can talk about that as well. And then takes that, redistributes it. And then I can focus on what I'm good at, which is getting podcasts, getting interviews, getting badasses and good humans to speak the word. You know what I'm saying? You got to focus on your strengths.
Right.
But understand, you got to learn first. I think everyone should learn how to do it before they outsource it, because you'll just kind of get ripped off. Does that make sense?
100%. And then this question came through by Jessica. She said, so for someone that is not tech savvy at all, where do you even start?
Oh, easy. I think that, again, podcasting can be as easy as you want it to be. All right. So I would say, number one, I would just keep it super, super simple. I think that humans learn by doing. I would say right now, you should just go on your voice memo on your phone. Everybody has voice memo on their iPhone. Go on your phone and record a 30, 40-minute conversation, just you talking about whatever, or it could just be 5 minutes, whatever. Right. Go on there right now, okay? Take that file, upload it to your computer. You can use AirDrop, you can use email, like whatever you use, upload it to a computer, and then listen to it. Right. That MP3 file is all you need to create a podcast. It's that simple. Then you just transfer it to a podcast host. All a podcast host is like the newspaper, right? You're this like reporter. You got the MP3 file, which is your story, and now you're sending it to the newspaper. The newspaper takes it and sends it to all the people in the world. It's that simple. I would just do that once, and then you're like, oh, yeah, this is not hard at all. Right. And then you upgrade. Then you get the mic, and then you get the software, and then you get the intro and the outro, and you start building on it, right? So I would say, don't try to be perfect. Just get something out, see it happen, be like, well, damn. It's like in tech world, it's like an MVP, right? If you're going to build a company, you want to start with an MVP, a minimal viable product. You want to test the market to see if it's even going to hit. And then if it tests right, then you scale, you throw money at it. You don't throw money at something you haven't tested yet. Everyone, drop a 1 if you've ever lost money doing that. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I'm dropping ones all day. I get stoked about stuff. You're like, go to Amazon. You just purchase everything, especially during the coronavirus. It's like, there's nothing better than buying stuff.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. They're doing pretty good right now. I'd say Amazon's made a little bit of money during the last few months. So there's a bunch of questions coming through. So here's what I'll tell you guys. So next Wednesday, Ian's actually going to go live in our free community. We have our My Lifestyle Academy group. That's for network marketers, online entrepreneurs, those of you that really want to dive deep on this. It's next Wednesday night, correct?
Next Wednesday night, yeah. I think
next Wednesday night.
Yep, 8 o'clock Pacific, I believe, if that works for you.
Okay, so 8 o'clock Pacific?
8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Yeah.
Okay, good. I was like, good Lord, that's really late. So 8 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday. So he'll go into so this is more of just a conversation, but he'll actually do a training and dive deep on some of the mechanics and what have you. But it'll be next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, inside the My Lifestyle Academy group. To join our free community, you go to mylifestyleacademy.com, mylifestyleacademy.com. You enter your name and email. You'll get access to our group for free. And you can invite your friends, your teammates, anybody you know that's an online entrepreneur or a network marketer. And Ian will go live with a more in-depth training, slide deck, all that good stuff. But there was another question that came through. Let me see something real quick. I thought it was a good one.
These are a lot of good.
Maybe you could also share what are some. Oh, here it was about outsourcing. So, guys, if you actually search My Lifestyle Academy's blog, mylifestyleacademy.com/blog, just search outsourcing. Nadya recently updated her outsourcing training on hiring people from like Upwork and different places. She's like the best I've ever seen when it comes to outsourcing and building a virtual team. So if you just Google, or not Google, well, you could Google actually also, but if you go to My Lifestyle Academy's blog and search outsourcing, there's a really good training on that conversation. So Ian, what would you say are some of the results also that you've gotten from building your brand via podcast?
I mean, I think the biggest thing when you think about results are what's important to you. So is it important for you to build a following? Is that important to you? Is it important for you to make sales for a product? Are you a consultant and you're trying to give feedback? What is important to you is something that you got to ask yourself early on. A couple of results I've gotten. Number one, I've met people from all around the world just because people share the content, share the podcast. So I've just built a much bigger audience because we've repurposed and did those things. So number one, increased followers, increased audience, things like that. Number two.
I want you to say that again. I want everybody to understand sometimes. So if you start a podcast or let's just say you start interviewing people on Facebook. If you interview someone, don't expect them to share it with their audience, but know that they might. They might share it with their audience. Don't go into it. Like I get a little annoyed when someone will reach out to me like, hey, can I interview you on my show, my podcast, whatever. And then they're like, oh, and also you'll be able to share it, right? And it's like, well, they already know my story. My audience knows my story. This is for your audience, right? So don't expect someone to share it, but know that a lot of them will, especially if you do a good job. So Ian's interviewing people, and then those people are then taking that podcast episode and sharing that with their audience. But in turn, that's exposing Ian's podcast to an audience that he would not have gotten in front of otherwise. So I just want everybody to understand that's powerful. Anyway,
I think the phrase here is like, when you assume, you make an ass of you and me. Like that's kind of the big deal here. And you got to just learn this the hard way. You can't assume people are going to go and blast you all over, right? Especially if you're climbing the ladder. You know, I like to think about things like a kapok tree, and you can talk about that in a minute if you'd like. But it's like you're building this kapok tree, and when you're reaching out really high to the kapok tree, you can't expect the top level of the kapok tree to reach down and just fly you up. Like just the fact that you are in a conversation with that person is enough, right? But what you can do, and this is something that we focused on, what we learned, is you can make it very compelling for them to share your stuff.
Smart.
And you do that by creating really good content that works for both of your platforms. Like when we create an IGTV, I'd say at least a third of the guests will post that on their podcast because it's badass. It basically promotes them, and just the Jones pops in at one point, you know? So by doing stuff like that, it gives them options. But what I do is I always send all of my guests like a very detailed PDF file with all of the media. And we say, hey, look, if you want to share it, great. If not, no big deal. I'm super grateful for your time. And here's another major key, which I wasn't going to share today, but when you do podcasts, like every time I have a guest, I send them a gift. And you don't got to go this far, but like anytime I have a guest, I send them a damn good day mug. You know, I send them a t-shirt. I send them a damn good day bracelet. You know, I send
us that stuff.
Yeah, you did.
I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
Oh man.
My gosh.
You were like, oh man.
Oh damn. UPS, man.
Can I ask you this too? Because I remember one time, I think it was Simon Chan, because he's got a really popular network marketing podcast. And he had said that your first, was it 5 episodes, should be really good before you upload your podcast.
5 to 10 before you launch.
So you should start 5 to 10 episodes, record them, have them ready to go before you like publicly what do you call it? Publish, like before you publish your podcast.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a pretty good tip. And I don't know if you agree with that. I'm curious if you agree.
Yeah, like we teach our podcasting students that when you launch your podcast, you need to have at least 3 episodes, at least 3, ideally 5. And the reality of this is it's like Netflix. We live in a bingeable world.
Yeah.
So it can actually work against you to release just 1 episode. Imagine you have this beautiful launch, like everyone's all stoked, right? And they listen to your 30 to 50 minutes of glory of just absolute fire. And then afterwards, they're just so pissed off because they got to wait for episode 2 next week.
Right.
So the idea here is you give them a little nest where they can just binge listen to your content. And here's the thing, you're competing against so many amazing podcasts and people and content.
Right.
So you need to transition people onto your podcast. And to do that, you need to outperform. I think it's Nadya that said HBO doesn't have an off day, right? So the more you can get out, the more you can be in your listeners' ears, the better, always.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you know, it's interesting too, because we were looking at some of our stats, and what we found is a lot of people actually listen to the entire podcast. Like a lot of people listen from the beginning till the end more so than a video. You know, I mean, videos are great. Obviously we're doing a video right now, but the truth is, even myself, like I listen to a YouTube video or listen to a podcast way more than I'll sit there and watch a video, unless it's like a structured training. And that's why our Money Mondays, a lot of times we have so many people on, because it's more of a structured training with like, you know, a slide deck and everything. But when it comes to just having a conversation, this is good. This is awesome. But it is easier for people to listen. Obviously, they're driving, they're taking a shower, they're in the gym, whatever. They can listen versus watch. So I think it's super powerful.
Watch time is 42 minutes.
Exactly. Our average listen time is 42 minutes,
Woo!
which is probably longer than video, right? So look, here's the bottom line. You're going to have people that want your content, but they would prefer a podcast, an audio version, an audio experience, if you will, versus a video. But again, you could do it as a video, right? You're recording it as a video, like you said, and then you're taking nuggets, right? Snippets, and you're posting that on IGTV, on YouTube, whatever, and then having the full audio experience on your podcast. It's just freaking genius. And I think, you know, as much as I love me some social media, it's not like it once was. You don't get as many views. You don't get the engagement. There's so many content creators. Everybody's posting. You know, I remember back in the day when I first started on social media, like you could become friends with somebody or they start following you and you look at their page and it's like they posted like once in the last year. Like they never would post anything. Like I was posting almost every day and I was like a freak for posting like several times a week. Like back in the day, like nobody posted. Everybody was just basically, you had a bunch of stalkers, right? You had a bunch of people that were on social media, but nobody would actually post anything because everybody was embarrassed. They didn't want to put themselves out there. Now it's rare that you'll friend up somebody or connect with someone and they don't have a story, Insta story, Facebook story. They don't have stuff on their news feed. They don't have videos. Like it's very rare you connect with someone and they're not posting stuff. Everybody's a damn marketer now. So it does make sense to have another way to communicate and put yourself out there. So are you all loving this? Smash that heart button if you are. Definitely tune into the training that Ian's going to do next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Inside of our free community, he's going to go live with an exclusive training. You just go to mylifestyleacademy.com, enter your name and email. Boom, you're in the group. It's a free training. You can't beat that. Ian, any other closing thoughts? Anything else you want to share with the audience?
I just loved what you mentioned about the whole idea of multitasking.
Right.
We nicknamed our apartment during this whole coronavirus deal the ADHD squirrel community, because in general, humans in this world, our focus is so everywhere. Like squirrel. Like there's so many people demanding your attention. A podcast you throw in your ear. You get the dishes done. You go to do your laundry. You go to the bathroom. You go do anything. You can be on a call in the bathroom at the same time. I know it's weird. I know you're thinking about it right now, but you can do it. And that's amazing, right? So make it so easy for people to consume your content. That's one thing you can do. And then you combine that with good marketing and then you're in a great position.
And what's your podcast? Can you share your podcast one more time with everybody for those individuals that got on late?
Yeah, absolutely. It's called Len Jones. Len Jones, party of two. Len Jones is one word. Len Jones. So I have an alter ego. My name's Ian Lenhart. IanLenhart.com is the website, right? But my alter ego is Len Jones. And it's just been something that's made me happy from day one. Like, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll understand. I know, John, you're the homie. So yeah,
Len
you can check that out. There it is. There's the drop.
Len Jones, party of two, y'all. Make sure you subscribe. Absolutely check out his podcast. What I love about Ian's podcast is he always has different types of guests on. Like, it's not like he just has, network marketers or entrepreneurs that are, business, internet marketing, type people. Like, he gets all types of people. I love, he's get athletes on there. I always notice you have like people I've never even heard of. I'm like, I don't know that person. I don't know this person. Never heard of her. Never heard of him. So he gets really unique guests on his show. And I would highly recommend you check it out, especially if you're like, hey man, I want to start a podcast. The beauty is, in today's day and age, you don't have to guess, right? Just follow people, model people that are already doing what you want to do. I mean, Ian, 2 years ago, 26 months ago, he didn't have a podcast. It was just a thought. It was an idea. And then he took action. Like he said, in the beginning, the audio sucked, but he just kept creating content, kept showing up, kept doing his thing and improving along the way. And as Brendan Burchard says, version 1.0 is better than version 0.0. So just get started. Get started, figure it out. If you're getting bored with social media, you're not getting the results, this is an excellent option. And again, the beauty is you can do things that you simply can't do on social media. So Ian, I appreciate you, brother. I'm excited for the training next Wednesday.
We are going to crush it. I hope to see you guys there. There were so many questions that we didn't get to, so hopefully we get them during that training.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely will. All right, y'all. Appreciate it. Ian, you're the man.
Peace.
MyLifestyleAcademy.com, y'all.